Are there things you wish you knew when you were younger? Like, let's say you've racked up a couple years in life and now you've learned some lessons and you wish you knew these things when you were younger. Well, you're in luck. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about lessons we wish we knew when we were younger. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Yeah, so this is actually the second time we're recording this one because we recorded half of the first one and then blew a fuse. So,
Happened.
ta-da!
Technical
Take
difficulty.
take two. So life lesson number one. Use surge protectors.
Watch how much stuff you plugged in.
Yeah, and expect the unexpected.
That is a good one. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's funny because well, I think we were saying before, it is funny, you can't go back and know all the things you knew, and it would be awesome if you could, if you could go back to when you were 20, but have the knowledge of your life. And I think this is one of the things I don't know, I struggle with a lot too, because you make choices, but we don't know the future. So it's like we'll make choices about stuff that are good choices at the time. But because we don't know what's going to happen in the world, they turn out to be bad. And you see this all the time. I see this in college all the time, right? Where people they'll choose a degree because right currently there might be a deficit where they need employees. But by the time you're done that, your 4-year degree, by the time you get out in the market, it's overloaded with people because everybody made the same decision. And it's like you can't go back now and change that. You're already stuck with it, right? So I think it's one of the hard things we struggle with too is we don't know what's going to happen. And I think keeping that in mind is also helpful too, right? As a kind of a truth to know that you will never know what's going to happen. So you kind of have to just roll with these things as they go.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess following that is you can always turn things around. So, like, let's say you got one of these college degrees that is no longer useful, like underwater basket weaving, or I don't
Or you
know.
made up your own.
Yeah, exactly. Um, well, let's say you did one of these things and then you graduate and you can't find a job. Well, guess what? It doesn't mean it's over. It just means it's kind of a new beginning and you got to turn things around because as long as you got breath in your nostrils, you can keep going. Now, that being said, it's not going to be easy. And this was actually my first one from the last time we recorded, is that life is going to kick you in the teeth. Like
Yeah.
it is just brutal. It sucks. And I think we almost have a disservice done to us where to survive is so easy nowadays. Like up until the 1970s, the world was in a food deficit. And then in the 1970s, that turned around to all of a sudden we're in a food surplus and everybody's obese and has diabetes and heart disease and all of these things. But up until then, it was kind of a struggle to survive. And if you go back further than that, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, like if you made it past 20 or 30 years old, that was a miracle almost.
Well, to your point too, I think now too, we have so many apparent choices now too, that it makes it hard because you get into that, I forget what they call it, where it's
Existential dilemma.
oh yeah, it's an
Yeah.
existential dilemma, true, right? Well, whatever. Or it's like choice overload, where
Oh, the
there's so
paradox of choice.
yeah, because there's so many things you could do, and we have so much information now. We see all these examples of the way people are living. We have access to so much
And
knowledge,
everybody
right?
wants to do it the best possible, not just do it. They want to
Yeah,
do it the
they want to
best
be
possible way.
perfect, right? Or they want it to
Mhm.
be successful immediately, or to take no time. And so you see frustration, and people forget that things take effort. Like we were saying this last time, you can do anything. You can't do everything. You can do anything, but it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. And to get good at something is going to take a while. And knowing that, keeping that in mind is important because I think that's one of the things that we definitely screw ourselves over a lot is we have things we want to do, but we never pursue them or because we give up really quickly, right? Like we start it and we're like, I'm not a master, a week later. And so you quit. And then it's like, well, maybe you would have
Yeah.
been good at that.
Yeah, I like that because we're reading The Artist's Way again, and it talks about that in the first chapter, how like in order to be good at something, you have to be willing to be bad at it. And I
Yeah.
look at a couple of things I've been wanting to do for a while, but I put off starting it because I don't want that bad phase. Like I want
Yeah.
to somehow skip it or like think my way around it. But it kind of almost makes it easier if I just go there, like I'm just gonna be bad for a while, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
takes the
but
pressure off.
it is the truth though, right? And failing and being bad at stuff's good because that's where we learn the most. And that's how we learn to address these things later in the future or be really good at it because we know how to avoid the things that are going to be common mistakes later. So I think knowing that too is really important. We talked about too earlier, The problem too, I think, with our conception of happiness, and this a lot of this is tied to like the fairy tales and like the stories and movies we watch, like that life is hard and that there's not this magical like happiness you're gonna get at some point. It's like an ongoing process or journey. I think we remind ourselves that too, that there's not just like this end goal where I'm gonna get something and then I'll be happy. Because I think we tell ourselves that all the time and it's a lie. And then we get let down every time. We're like, well, if I just get that job, or if I just get this much money, I'll be happy. And then we're not happy because we're still the same person. And yeah,
Yeah, and there's just some new shiny object you want.
yeah.
But I also wonder if that's the re I mean, if without that, I don't think we would do anything. If we didn't have this concept of like, if I got that, then I would be happy, we probably wouldn't do very much.
That's interesting, like that motivation tied to it of like, yeah, or well, or maybe our motivations would be different, maybe, I don't know. Or a different
Hmm.
sense of, or even just a different conception of maybe like what it means to progress or build something. I don't know. Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, it's interesting. There's this existential philosopher, Jose Ortega. He has a great piece called Man Has No Nature. But what I like about it is he talks about how like, a person's like it's like a program or project of existence. Like you have an idea of what you want to be, and then you try to make that a reality. But as you're making it a reality, the idea is changing, right? So you're always trying to be something in the world that you're creating. And I think that's a good one too, is like we can make ourselves whatever we want. And s- I think a lot of younger people would benefit from not worrying about what others think, focusing on like the you want to create, not worrying about, and it's so hard nowadays too, with social pressures and like all the influence from all the information and all the talking heads from every angle, it's like really hard, I think, to be your own person. So that's a good one too. I think you can be anything you want to be. You just have to make yourself that and focus on you.
Well, I think about it from our childhood because like if you want to do something back when we were children, there was kind of limited information on how to go about doing it. Like
Yeah.
maybe if you were lucky, you could find a book at the library, or you might find somebody in your local area who knew a little bit about it, and you would just try, and you would never compete. Like the competition wasn't there. You wouldn't try and be the best in the world or the best at this or the top this because really it just wasn't available for most
Well,
people. But
it's funny, like
nowadays, you're competing against the best in the world.
I remember when I was younger, like getting into like electronics or something like that, like to build stuff. Like I could get a magazine or something that maybe had like some little things in it, and then you just mess around and see what you could do. But now you can go online. It's like you see these people building like incredible things, and it's like, but they've been doing it forever, and you don't see. And I think that's one of the worst things about like watching like influencers and stuff that are doing this stuff, which is it's great information, but you don't see the work that they put in or the team of people they have that are
Yeah,
helping them do it. Like, 'cause like I like Network Chuck. I like a lot. He's great videos.
yeah,
And but like if you just watch him, it's like how does he know so much and do all this? But the reality is he's got a team of people that are putting this stuff together for him so that he can do it in a 15-minute video, right? And go all the way
hmm,
through and it's like and we don't see all that. So I think
yep,
keep in mind too that like a lot of stuff like we think people are doing by themselves, they're probably not.
yeah, exactly. And you're comparing your beginning with someone else's end, so it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So let's see, what other life lessons are there? I like the one about the timeline. So given a long enough timeline, you can pretty much do anything,
Yeah.
but you can't do things, you can't do what you want in the time that you want. Those things aren't possible. So you can choose what you want or you can choose the time that you want. But other than that, it's out of your hands. And I think that's an important lesson to learn because, some of us think we need to do things in a certain amount of time. And this is one of the things that really gets me about this, like, a lot of these, like, self-help things is like, they're like, you need to set yourself like a super ultra strict time limit. Like, whatever you think it should take, do it in half that time. And you have to stay to your time. And it's just like, you don't have that much control over time.
Well,
And I
dude,
think
it's like
people
the
end up
ones that
killing.
they give you the sheet and it's like 15-minute increments where you're supposed to break up your whole day.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. And people kill themselves trying to do this stuff. And then in
yeah.
the end, like they just end up chasing one like one rainbow after another one. And they end up chasing things that don't mean a lot. Like there was this, I'm not going to name names, but there was this one story about a person has who's already a multimillionaire, clearly could live very well off for the rest of their life, but their goal is to build $1 billion portfolio in like the next quarter or something like that. And it's like cool goal, but for what other than bragging rights?
That's
You
all
know?
it is, though.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because like you read so there's this book called Die with Zero, and it's a really interesting thing because it's written by a guy who is a well-off multimillionaire, but he's also an engineer, and he looks at collecting money in kind of like an engineering principle. So if you die with money left over, that means you failed the game.
Inefficiency, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's a really interesting thing because then it's like maybe the goal of life is not to collect as much money as possible. There's actually some other things that are more important. And so I won't spoil the book. I would encourage everyone to read the book because it's a very good book. But yeah, it just makes you wonder because you can get lost in these traps of life where it's just like pursuit for the sake of pursuit. And
But
you can it's kind of like whatever its name said back in the day where like you can lose your soul and
no, you can
what's
win
the
the
word?
world. You can win your world and lose yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, Jesus
bingo.
and Kierkegaard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, like the on that point too, like there was this finance guy talking about that, and he was saying that, like all these people that are like older have money, that they're gonna leave to their kids or whatever, He's like, you could help them now instead, and then you get to see and enjoy the results of that rather than waiting till some time. And yes, it's hard because you're making it, you don't want to obviously, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, so you want to leave some for yourself and stuff. But like if you have that much excess, you could do that and then actually enjoy it now rather than
Well,
waiting,
this
right?
is this is the really interesting thing. I'm glad you brought that up. So he in the book he talks extensively about this because this is the big thing that people say. They're like, "Well, I want to leave money over for my kids." But statistically, when people inherit money, they're about 60 years old.
Yeah.
And money no longer has usefulness at that time because you already have money of your own and you
Or
really don't
eat.
have health and time to make
Well,
use
that's
of
it.
it.
I was gonna say, even if
And
it does, it's not gonna be the kind of use that you would have gotten out of it earlier
right,
when
so
you could have
like
done much more. Yeah.
money is actually most impactful when you're 30 years old, and it falls off both sides from there. But because around 30, you have the most time, you have the most freedom, you have the most health, and so money can really impact your life. So actually giving your money to your descendants earlier is more beneficial for
But
them
that
than
makes
waiting
total
for them to
sense
get
though
it
too
after you
though.
die.
Because like say you're like 30 or 40 or something and you want to do something different, but you don't have the resources to do it. That money could give you it gives you options that you didn't have.
Mhm.
Whereas once you're
Yeah,
already
or
60,
it could allow you to pay off your house so you don't have to worry
yeah.
about a mortgage
Well,
and
that's
you
what I
could
mean,
just
yeah.
live a little bit more free.
Free and like you could
Or
do more
yeah.
stuff that you want to do, have those
Mhm.
experiences. Whereas like, yeah, when you're 60, like you don't have the physicality or anything to do those things anymore either, where it's already starting to taper off. So
Yeah,
your
because
options get slimmer.
at
Yeah.
60, if you've been living diligently, you've probably saved up a retirement fund. So you're about ready to tap into your retirement fund. So
Yeah.
what's the point of having a windfall more money at that point? Because what are you going to do? A few
Yeah.
years you'll travel and whatever, but you can't spend all your money in that few years.
But I think that's one of the problems too of our society is like you have people that collect money just for the sake of collecting it, like bragging rights, and they're not even happy. There's no reason for it. And they have
You
more
know,
money than they could ever use, ever, in
mhm.
many lifetimes.
I was thinking about this, and I don't want to blame MBAs, but I will because it's 100% their fault. So, like,
100%.
MBAs became really popular in the 80s with cocaine and all that stuff. And uh, so every at that point, it changed from let's build the wealth of America to, or I mean, I'm just going to use America as an example because it's like let's make everybody wealthier in America
So let's make
to let's
myself.
make me wealthier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it changed 100% because at that point, CEOs started making more and more money. All the shareholders would come in and they would basically just rape these companies to steal all their profits.
Hmm.
And then the employees' salaries kept going down. They would have layoffs, but the CEOs, the shareholders keep making more money. So, yes, while certain sectors make more money, the whole country and essentially the whole world uh,
Lost a lot.
lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's all concentrated now in a couple people, and it's a shame. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's crazy. You look back in time, like Disney used to pay like their janitors like a middle class wage with time off, vacation, and everything, and now they get like I don't know what like minimum wage. It's
Yeah.
like it's kind of crazy when you think
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
my grandfather was a janitor and he bought a house.
Yeah,
He had, I think, a car or two. Like
yeah.
so it was just something where you could survive. But nowadays, if you're a janitor, that's like one of probably five jobs
Well,
you
I
have.
think that's one of the biggest changes that's been bad is a full-time job used to mean it would provide for you. Now it's like that doesn't mean anything. It's
Hmm.
just work that you're working, and wasting your time or barely making it. And it's a shame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah.
So more life lessons. Let's see. Um, oh, here's a good one. Exercise. Like this is really important. So exercise and diet, and not just so that your body can look good, but actually because it helps you in life. Like it helps you in life in multiple levels. It helps your present and it also helps your future. Because
That is
it
true.
helps your present where you just feel better, but it also helps your future because the more muscle you can build while you're younger, the longer you'll have mobility when you're older.
That's one of the best things too, though, because I think I like exercise too, because it's one of the things where it's very clear the effort correlates to the results. And it's very empowering too to see that. Like it's hard to get started, yes, a lot of times, but once you get started, like you will see results. And it's neat because it's also a good lesson too of how long things take. And that things
Hmm.
take time and that there's not really shortcuts, but you're able to do it just by doing it regularly? It's a
Yeah.
good lesson in that sense too.
Well, it's crazy because it is really hard to start because it's easy to be lazy and to just put it
But
off.
yeah.
And you start doing it and then you go too hard in the beginning and you get sore and you write it off again. You're like, no, this isn't for me. But probably one of the best things I ever did was hire a personal trainer and have a session once a week with a personal trainer because I think it's been like 3 years now and I've been doing it every week, have not stopped at all in 3 years. And it's just because I have to show up because I'm paying the guy.
Well, you have an extra
And so,
commitment, right? Well, that's the
yeah.
other thing too. I think that's something too is like putting some skin in the game to make your obligations. It's just like doing this. Like we meet every week for this because we know we're meeting to hang out and chat, right? And like having something like that always makes things easier. And knowing that earlier would be really helpful too. It's like working it so that in your schedule you're getting some sort of connection like that, or having some sort of skin in the game so that you're doing it for another reason beyond just the thing itself. So you're building it and makes it easier to show up and motivate yourself.
That's a good lesson. I remember probably like 5 or 6 years back before we were doing this, how we would call each other occasionally, like once every month to
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically calling you one time and we were both like, man, why don't we do this more often? You know? And so it's one of those things where a good life lesson would be actually work to cultivate close relationships because I don't think they happen naturally. Like if
No.
we didn't make an effort to correspond with each other on a regular basis, it was easy just to let it go weeks, months, whatever it was before we spoke with each other. But being close friends, it helps to actually put it on the books to do it like
Well,
every
you have
week.
to, right? You have to work on it and you have to cultivate it and you have to spend the time. And I think we
Hmm.
forget that, and that's why we let things go so easily. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's a good one. I really like that one. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Any others?
I gotta I gotta run.
Oh, you
So
got to run?
yeah,
Okay.
we have to cut
So
this short.
that's all the life lessons we're giving you this time. If you want more of them, just comment down below and we'll make another episode of more life lessons. Like don't overwater your plants.
Don't do
That's
that.
a yeah, that's an easy way to kill them. And if they're underwater, they'll let you know, but don't overwater them. So that's all for this episode. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Until next time, I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Andy.
All right.